So with the spotlight on discussing digitizing project management for commercial fit-outs, I take the pleasure of inviting our esteemed panelists up on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, moderating this session is Mr. Amit Bansal, co-founder and CEO of RDash. He was here with us earlier before lunch. Welcome once again on stage. Let's give him a nice warm round of applause. And joining Mr. Bansal are Mr. Dheeraj Mata, Head of Business Transformation, Ambience Interiors Private Limited. I'd like to welcome you up on stage, sir. Thank you for joining us. Let's have a nice warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome Mr. Satish Kumar Sharma, MCR President, Sales and Marketing, Featherlight. Thank you for joining us, sir. Yes, please, a nice warm round of applause. I'd like to invite Mr. Aditya Raj Kishore, Studio Head, JLL. Welcome, sir. Thank you so very much for joining us. I'd like to welcome Mr. Anta Eugenio, COO, Incus Technology Private Limited. Welcome, sir. Thank you so very much for joining us. And finally, I'd like to invite Mr. Sarat Kadambi, Chief Operating Officer, Ocean Life Spaces India Private Limited. Welcome, sir. Thank you so very much for joining us. And with all our esteemed panelists up on stage, I hand over to Mr. Amit Bansal, sir. Please to take this session forward.
Thank you everyone for joining us. So in continuation, we are discussing digitization for fit-out project management, and we have a very experienced panel who will share with us from their experience how they approached it, what experiences they have had, and what value they have derived out of these efforts. So my first question is to Mr. Antao. He has been Chief Operating Officer for Colliers, ran massive scale project management across countries, across geographies of different scale and sizes. So Mr. Antao, I would want to understand from you, from your experience, if a company wants to digitize their project management from the fit-out context, where they should start and what are the bare basics of digitization that the company must go about?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on the intent of what a company wishes to achieve out of digitalization of their processes for project management. Where do you want to be? I think you want to be right up there. Today, the extent of digitalization can go right up to agentic processes, right? And I think everyone has to start somewhere. It's not a choice. It has to be a strategic decision, which will be based on, I think, the first fundamentals coming into digitalization would be what you can do to gain clarity, what you can do to gain speed, what you can do to gain control, right? And so that's the way it starts. But when you look at digitalization per se, you need to start from the basics. We want to be wherever we are, but we need to start from the basics. And when I look at basics, the first thing is, data is king. So you need to start with how you are controlling your documents, how you are sharing the documents, how you are collaborating on them. The second part that a project management company fails is not because of cost, time, quality. Those are just parameters that people measure us by. Where we fail is in communication. And so the next process should definitely be into getting communication and onto how do you communicate with the various stakeholders, etc. So that's going to be your second part of how you need to go across for digitalization. Carrying on from there, I think, these are all available software that is available for you to take it online. I think then comes how you manage your designs, because that's the place where the most errors happen, especially, version control and people using various things. So there's a lot of things, and I think digitalization should help us on how we reduce risk on our project, and this is one of the main contributors. Amit, during your session, you spoke quite a bit about on the cost side of things, right? So that's going to be your next step. Going into risk management, how much you can digitalize, right? So there are digitalization where people are analyzing what are the communications, what are the risks that come through from those sort of things. So that's going to be next. And of course, generally, how we go about scheduling, how we go about cost control, which you spoke about in quite detail, I think. So these are sort of basics. But to what extent we need to digitalize, like I say, it's right up there, right? We need actually agentic processes to control how we are managing projects. They are, they have to be used as an aid to project managers to deliver projects, and not just, just as a process, right? We can streamline processes, we can do all of that online, but we really require more inputs. A lot of our information, the way the skills are actually diminishing as the old people go out. We are actually getting all the bottom layer into the construction. So we really need to see how we are elevating that profile too. I think Praveen during his session spoke about the excess talent that is available in digital side. And here in the construction side, in the project management side, we are facing a reduction in a shortage of those skills. So I think it's about how we are going to marry these things. That is the way companies should decide on how to elevate their project management business.
Okay, great. So what I heard is you're saying that you start with digitizing your documentation, bind them with a communication thread, but that's not it. The frontier we should look for is bringing in agents to do the part of the job and be friend to the project managers on ground. In fact, at Incus, you are driving a lot of these changes. So, before we come to the AI agents helping project managers, I would want to take the view from the rest of the panelists. So, Dheeraj is here with us. So, for the fit-out industry or construction industry as large is seen as a laggard when it comes to digital adoption. Whilst if you look at manufacturing, logistics, all these companies are fairly mature in terms of digitizing their processes. All these companies have these verticals, head of transformation, head of digitization, but these verticals are not really seen in our industry. Whilst Ambience Interior is leading the charge, wherein they have set up this vertical, transformation vertical under your leadership. So it's very peculiar. So I want to understand from you how they come about of taking that call that, okay, we need to set up this transformation vertical, and what are some of the initial wins that you're looking at?
If you want to improve control, if you want to improve margins, it can't be done manually. WhatsApp and Excel are not digital anymore. They are the new manual, frankly.
That's great. Actually, we have us and Ambience are doing some great work together. So my next question is to Aditya, who is leading the design studio at JLL. Aditya, you work from a boutique studio, Arc Studio, to all the PMCs. You're there with WeWork for a good amount of time, and then now you're with JLL. So, being an architect, where do you think digitization is required the most? And in all your journey of past, about 15, 20 years, whilst you have been growing as an architect, have you seen any change in methods in the fit-out world on how the things were done in the past and how they're being done now?
Thanks, sorry. As designers, we're constantly trying to evolve. We're always trying to reach the new. We're trying to break into new horizons, right? And all of our stuff currently, as a designer, I would say everything is already digitized in terms of our drawings, in terms of our 3D rendering. We're embracing technology, trying to do the best and the latest. But once we finish that process, once we try to hit site, then everything goes back to printouts. Everything is going back to being manual on site. Whether it's changes on site as we track, they're still done on pen and paper. And if we can digitize that and enable our site engineers and our PMs to be able to track that, I feel like we'll have a significant impact on how our procurement works, our costing works, our scheduling. All of these will have direct impacts. And as a designer, that also enables me to see a real-time impact of what I am discussing with the client. Because as designers, we tend to become very whimsical, that we want to do the best. We try to impress our clients, and sometimes we lose the larger picture. So I think with digitization, that's going to be significant, because then all of us as a team get to see a wholesome impact to a project, from cost to delivery to covering everything, right? And in general, over the years, of course, I haven't been doing this for too long, but over a decade and a half, I have seen a lot of significant technological improvements. We ourselves in JLL we have our own technology. We're trying to develop and trying to bring the next best towards project management, how we can deliver better to our clients. We, as an industry, I think we still have a long way to go. People are still, I feel, a little old school in their thoughts sometimes, and we need to be open to adapting and implementing your technology.
That's very well put, Aditya. So, building on to what Aditya said, I would ask Mr. Sarath, who comes from the Occupy side, spent significant amount of time with Tata Communications leading procurement, and now he joined as Chief Operating Officer at Ocean Life Spaces. It's a very prominent interior fit-out company in India. So, Sarath, you have led large-scale technology implementation in your past stints, right? Can you share from your experience what is the real impact that you have seen or your organization have seen when you have led those kind of implementation in the past?
So digital transformation is the buzzword in the last 10 years, right? And all the organizations have adapted to digital transformation, and in my role as a transformation head for the previous companies, I've led large-scale implementations for various tools. So the tangible benefits that we get out of implementing technology is predominantly the traceability of your transactions, the audit logs, faster decision making. You are also enabled with a data-driven outlook to, what do you say, if you have to complete a project, let's say the projects team, they have to complete a project, we are able to set up realistic timelines and realistic expectations to them as well. Else, it's always a cat and mouse game, right? We all say that the project should complete in 3 months, though practically it may not be possible. With these transformational initiatives and insights, it's quite possible now. So that's what I would say are the key takeaways from a digital transformation exercise that any organization should undertake.
Understood. So what we got so far is start from managing your documentation, fix the communication. Aditya said bring the whole thing together. Sarath is sharing that put right amount of accountability behind every person that you're working in your team. So basically the way wheels up and running, and it's only going to compound from this moment on. But Satish, you come from Featherlight, heading the sales for the furniture division. So from your experience, when this whole industry is taking on digitalization wave, how are you reacting to the change? How Featherlight is moving in tandem with the ongoing digitization? That is, how are you adapting your go-to-market plans while this digitization wave is on in the industry at large?
Sure. I think COVID has posed a lot of challenges to us. But one good thing what COVID did is digitization, technology, exponentially it has grown. Exponentially it has grown that people couldn't anticipate that within a year or 2 years, what they were envisaging for 8 to 10 years actually got shrunk into 1.5 years. I give you an example. Like at Featherlight, we have 2 verticals, right? One is B2C, where we manage the clients. And today, you look at Big Basket, you look at Amazon, I need a, curd, I need milk, I order it, it comes. Pre-COVID, we wouldn't have thought that a chair or a table can come at the doorstep and look at the video to install it. I think the digitization really helped us to look at a portal where anybody can order a size of the table or a chair what you are looking at, bring that product at your home, install it, and start using it. So I think that is the change which we could see at B2C. And look at B2B. A client walks into an office and says, hey, I have a 10,000 square feet, I need certain workstations. And our sales team, with a software, we call it as a reconfigurator, can start feeding the data in terms of, hey, what is the size of the table you are looking? Okay, 5 feet, 2 feet depth. Are you looking at partition, fabric, or a writing board? What kind of wire management you are looking at? What kind of a color you are looking at? All these inputs across the table can be fed in, and the final product can come on the screen, which can be sliced in different direction and say, hey, this is what you are looking at, and here is the product, and they take a call. Not only the product solution, but in terms of a quote, how much it actually makes, that also reflects. So I think the digitization has really made, the entire process onto a very fast track, and any changes what the client look forward can be done then and there so that they align and look forward for a product. On the technology front, I tell you, as we all know that we are from the real estate fraternity, and real estate is the second largest cost, right, on the balance sheet. If a product is not being used by the employees, there are IoT systems which gets fit in. There are conference rooms which are designed for 20 people, but you put up a sensor and give a data that, hey, average only 4 to 6 people are using, whereas you are paying money for 20 people. Now, this particular data is very, very informed, very, very, insight to the leaders to take those calls saying that, hey, let me just bring a change and save cost and money here. So I think the digitization, the artificial intelligence has multiplied in the last couple of years, and everybody is using it, leveraging it to the best of their interest.
It's great to know you're saying that your customers, while your customers are trying to get agile, Featherlight is agile already. So great to know. So now let's come to agentic era and how the AI is shaping the digitization. Wherein I would want to go back to Mr. Antao, who's now in his new journey with Incus as Chief Operating Officer, building futuristic technology with best-in-class hardwares and digital twin technology to wherein you can visualize your project progress digitally on screen in a 3D environment, like the way you would navigate through your 3D Revit models or any other model. So you can navigate through your real construction site on your screen like the way you navigate through a 3D model. That's what I understood, but that's really amazing kind of a tech, really amazing for a part wherein, because it is getting originated from this place and being made to suit to Indian requirements. While there's some of these softwares available globally, but how's Incus doing it differently? And when it comes to commercial fit out projects, where do you think is the best application of this technology that you are building?
Sure. So we've already got some, what do you call, technology out in the market, which basically we use it in all the stages of the projects, where we are looking at design side, we look at the construction side, and then we are looking at the closeout and the maintenance FM operation side also. So from a design perspective, right, especially what's happening during the design is the collaboration part of it, which we have to increase, and we are able to automatically generate now 3D drawings from a 2D drawing, right? So the process is very simple. So the industry today, when everybody talks about BIM model, how long it takes to build a BIM model. Most probably a project gets a BIM model when the project is completed. It's never before that. So with the new agentic processes that come in, we are able to fast track this particular building from a CAD to BIM. So design stage. The moment we have a BIM model, it can definitely help on how we schedule our projects, because then it's a visual tool for you to actually plan. Everybody can be aligned to what you've been doing there. And then we come to the actual construction site. Now, there's a vast difference, all of you may not realize, between what has been designed and what we are actually doing there at site, right? Digitalization is supposed to bring transparency, but all of us are supposed to be very non-transparent. We don't want the world to know what we've done. Our skill sets remain with us. That's where we are. And so therefore this exposes exactly what's happening at site. Are we as per the design? It can automatically check on the schedules. Are we as per schedule? It can automatically check on the quantities. Are we there on track? So the whole sort of monitoring of it, it's monitoring even not only the thing. Computer vision is helping us on the defects. It's helping us identify safety issues. So you have real-time updates so you can take action on. And all of this comes together as one whole thing. During the whole construction process, all this information is gathered, and it becomes a proper as-built model down for your maintenance. So you're right on day one, you're ready for going on the maintenance side, right? All critical items are there exactly. You have all the data. So all of that is happening on one. This is already there in the market. But when you look at project management per se, and even if you are looking at only at the fit out side, the processes remain the same, whether you're building a big project, a small project, everything is there. But can you imagine the amount of documentation that happens? Is it possible for the team that is there at site to actually review all these documents and execute as per that? Right? And this is where AI agents can help, where they can help us understand what was the contract, what was the specification, give the right inputs at the right time for the person on site to actually carry out his work. Actually assist, right? So the AI agent, in fact, is like a separate project manager who's there, who's reviewing all these documents and then giving those inputs for people at the site to construct. So I think this is the whole gamut of what can happen. Of course, it helps the designers in plenty of ways, because you can actually simulate your occupancy, you can simulate your guest experiences, you can simulate, you can sort of duplicate from one place to the other in a lot of places. So there are so many things that AI can do today. So it's just the mind that, we have to put in those processes to come in earlier.
I think experienced folks like yourself bringing in agents into the traditional setup is the best that can happen. So we're all excited for the future. I'll come back to Dheeraj again. So Dheeraj, in our conversation, you mentioned that Ambience is on a path to unlock a high single-digit ROI with the transformation initiatives you and your team is running. Can you crystallize or share, top 2 initiatives that you think have the highest leverage in unlocking that ROI that you are hoping to achieve through digitalization?
Certainly. So, one of the key things and one of the earlier things we did was we used a cloud-based worker attendance tracking tool, right? So, if we have 15 sites running across the country, our management has real-time view of how many workers have logged in, what rate of workers have logged in, how many hours they're putting in. So that is kind of first it improves visibility of information. People know which site is lagging on worker count before they hear from the PM 7 days hence, right? Or they hear from the customer that the progress is lacking. The other impact of this is that we've been able to reduce the ghost payroll. Right? So there is that big thing that we've encashed upon. The other area, which is very, very important, and I think you alluded to that in your conversation earlier, is to be able to see things at an element level. So we have kind of gotten there. We are able to see right from the element budget, from the rate analysis we may have used at the time of the tender, through the requisition, which is now input by the site teams on ERP, the same ERP which holds the rate analysis. Then the PO or work order goes against that. Then the payment and the NB, on the basis of which we are paying the vessel, goes through that. One element that we wish to still bring on that is how much are we eventually billing to the end customer, right? Because that tells us either the overpayment we're making or the billing efficiency we are carrying through things. One other area which is essential, not so visible, is what I call the orphans. And things like how much are you paying at your site for petty cash? How are you managing your excess stock? Those are things that especially RDash has helped us do is generate the visibility, generate the reusability of that stock. That's essentially very, very important. That could be 2-3% of the margin right there.
So you're saying cutting ghost payroll, fixing material leakages, and fixing element level traceability on P&L are some of the key initiatives through which you have been able to unlock this high single digit ROI. So moving on to Aditya. Aditya, you, from an architect's lens, you largely sit at the center of the project, right? From conceptualization to the final handover, you are basically stamping everything, right? Now, from your lens, what are the critical interaction points an architect or designer has with rest of the teams which are involved in the construction project management lifecycle, and which are some of the more nuanced ones which people generally don't talk and care about, wherein there is a process lacuna and where generally the ball gets dropped?
Okay, very interesting question. And yes, since we are typically there from conceptualization, when the client has the idea to literally when the key is handed over them, we are through the project life cycle. One of the first major challenges, of course, is, like I said, once we design the thing and once we go into our BOQs and developing that, the client would have then gone for a vacation somewhere, suddenly come back or seen something online and said, hey, we want to change this up. That change management for us is our biggest problem. Right?
Interest is your biggest.
Interest is don't talk about it. We don't talk about this. No, but in general, right? And you can't blame clients because they're also, they're not in this. So for them, anything is inspiration. They will try to implement it in their project. It is their pet project. So that is one of our biggest pain points. Right? Tracking those changes, ensuring that it's passed on to procurement or whoever is dealing with the tendering, so that they know what the change is, and also that impact the client has to be very well prepared for. Second thing is, like I said, again, on-site changes. Now, there might be, today, of course, we can scan buildings and we have that advantage, but we don't do it often enough, which does lead to a lot of services and general design clashes that can happen on site. And if we can rectify that either through being proactive and maybe scanning the building and treating it from the beginning, or when we do face these challenges, how we're tracking them. Because like I said, most of the time it's just, okay, I'll sketch on a piece of paper, I'll sketch on the plan and then go. But we're not really digitizing it. It's not being recorded and it's not reflecting to every other stakeholder in the project. So that's something we definitely need to work on. And it can be on our weekly meetings, it constantly keeps happening. And then of course, I think close out and where once we hand over a project to client, I think Sir was talking about that a lot, is we're all talking about the project management and construction, but post that, when the client takes over, the FM takes over, I think digitizing our initial process is only going to help them a long way from maintainability and running the office very smoothly. So these are, I think, a couple of key junctures in every project that where we can really intervene, and there is a lacuna in terms of how it's being done currently.
Great. So a designer done the construction concept, they've done the GFC, and they think that their job is done. But that's where the grind starts. And if there's one thing that you want to fix as an architect in terms of process, that all the changes which are coming either from the changing expectation on the customer side, or are being resulted because of the site conditions, or are resulted due to the supply chain limitations. So if we can bring all this change together, do the right documentation and do the right change percolation because every change has to percolate downwards and upwards. As an architect, if you get to fix something, is this the thing that you want to fix first?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think just to put it simply, and I think our panel members have used transparency, because a lot of times, even as architects or designers, we're not aware of what happens on site. So I think that is our biggest barrier.
Great. So coming back to Mr. Sarath, so Sarath, you have had your amazing stints on the occupier side. Now you are on the provider side. How does it feels like to be on the provider side first? And now while you are on this side, where do you see state of things are, and what are some of the initial few steps you are taking to make sure that you get to where you expect things to be?
Yeah, it's an eye opener for me from an occupied side to a provider side. Like I said in my previous thing, that we all believe that it's a fast track and the contractor can do magic, right? However, when we look at the right perspective, until we adopt technology, it's not going to be possible. Even with technology, we all say transformation. It's not only the technology transformation that will help us reach where we want to reach. Even behavioral transformation has to be there. In the construction industry or in the interior industry, predominantly, it's the people who are delivering the products. Yeah. And if people are not willing to adopt technology, that's where we have to think, how do we make it happen? So one of the major challenges, what I see in the industry, is labor management. Someone said that to prevent ghost labor deployment. So I don't know if we have cracked that puzzle or not. It's a long way to go. We will do that. The endeavor here should be to make technology work for us in such a way that we have a single version of tools, where at the click of a button we are able to see into the dashboards, and with the approval mechanisms, etc. It also helps us build the future client acquisition, because we will have informed decisions to make when we are quoting. Yeah, so that's what would help
That's
the
actually
industry.
what you're saying, that digitization you are running today is going to be the stepping stone for growth as well, not just the ROI in terms of efficiency.
And also the stakeholder satisfaction. See, the minute we do all these things, we build trust with the client also. They can also view all the things at a click of a button. And going to my colleague here, he said that transparency can be built. We don't have to say in as many words. That is demonstrated through these initiatives.
So I think that's all from the panel on digitizing fit out. I think I've gotten some fresh perspective and more experience take, which definitely strengthens my resolve to commit my time and energy to this field, and so has everyone here on the panel. So I will leave it to the audience if you have any questions from the panelists.
We have time for one question. Yes, ma'am. We'll have the microphone sent over to you. Please do introduce yourself and the question here.
Hi guys, I'm Sushma from IBM. I have a very simple question to all the panelists talking about digitization, project management for commercial fit outs. Why is it, despite all the resources that you have today, even if there are not cost overruns on almost each and every project, whether for my or for other org, there are always time overruns. If you know, I think Sarat, you just mentioned, right? Transformation has to be with the people, labor issues, and there were a few valid comments you made. Despite knowing the reality, why is it always an overcommitment and under delivery from a lot of firms like you, if not you? Why do we have to pay the price of breaking our promises to our clients?
I would request you to come to the provider side, but I would leave it to the panel to address this.
Okay. So one of the greatest issues that we face in project management on projects, whether it's commercial fit out or whatever, is, and I think a couple of us also spoke about transparency, right? So the adoption of technology. When you come to an organization, when you go and meet at the CXO level, everyone's very gung-ho that yes, we need to adopt technology. This is what it provides. When we are actually providing these 3D models of the aspect site that is there, and it sort of exposes the people on the ground because it tells you exactly this is what's going wrong with your project, this is where it is. And whatever it is, and Sarat spoke about behavioral change, and this is where it is, where people don't want this to come out and be open. No one wants to know, right? The magic that we create is more on the surprises that we give. So there's no other magic that's happening here. It's all, everything is a surprise. The client, there's a cost overrun, it's a surprise. There's a time overrun, it's a surprise. That's all magic that we can do at the site. And the people that are actually down on ground do not wish that this, exposes. So it's going to take a lot of effort when we talk about digitalization. It's not that, that we are building something. There are so many platforms available in the market. RDash is there in the market already. They're providing so much. So people at the top level say, yes, we need to go ahead. When it comes to implementation, we don't want the world to know what we are doing, and therefore it gets stuck. So I'm very sorry that you still have the surprises and the magic that we play.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to add a point here.
I just have a comment, sorry, if I may. So that means that whenever a team is giving us dates, we should add whatever X number of surplus dates to that by default. That's my takeaway from your comment.
No, what you're saying is adding surplus days, you are saying that that's a reactive step, but what Antao is saying that if you are okay for surprise in the beginning and you have the cultural alignment, you won't have to do that.
Yes, you don't have to do that. So you have to drive it within your organization that two heads are better than one. If something's coming up, two people can address the problem rather than just leaving it to the site team. So I think that's a little cultural change that we require in our system. And I definitely see that that's the way that it's going to progress. Today, we don't have talent in the market. So definitely we will have to digitalize. There's no other option. 2-3 years from now, you're not going to have people there. You will have to digitalize to make do with what you have. And I think that's the time when everyone will accept that this is the reality that we are in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for any questions in this forum. But right now, we'd like to appreciate the interaction. And we'd like to also thank all our esteemed panelists. Thank you so very much.